And we back. Now today we're doing something a little bit different than what we're used to doing on this channel. Based off what I've seen in the last couple videos, my award prediction video and my playoff prediction video, you guys seem to love to hear me break down certain situations in the NBA. And I'm saying that because those videos are hardly viewed and you guys destroy the like button. Y'all basically double the amount of likes on those videos than y'all did in like any other video we've ever done, okay? So it seems like y'all really like it. So today we're starting something where I'll basically break down what I saw in a game during the playoff series. The playoffs are basically a time where I'm more attentive to anything that's going on. And we're breaking down a specific game from Sunday night. Now, this first weekend of playoff basketball was amazing. I sat on my couch for 2 days straight. I ordered in some pizza. I ordered in food. Like, I did not leave the house, all right, for 2 days straight and sat on the couch and watched basketball. Amazing weekend. Probably one of the best weekends ever. But today we're breaking down the game from Sunday night. Now, Sunday's games are really good. The Boston game was really good. But the one that caught my eye the most was the Minnesota Timberwolves versus the Houston Rockets. And in today's video, I'll be breaking down some stuff that I saw that bothered me or how this team can be successful, yada yada. But let's get into it now. So in my playoff prediction video, I predicted that the Houston Rockets are going to steamroll the Timberwolves. This is the one series that I thought was going to end in a sweep, 4-0 in terms of Houston, in favor of Houston, because, well, Houston has one of the best offenses ever versus Minnesota Timberwolves, who have one of the worst defense in the league. So something has to give. Offense ultimately is going to kill bad defense. But this first game was back and forth. It was actually one of the more back and forth games in the entire weekend. Houston Rockets won 104-101. Now, coming into this, my main question was, what was Thibodeau's plan going to be offensively and defensively, okay? Defensively because, well, the pick and roll between James Harden and Clint Capella or Chris Paul and Clint Capella has been deadly to all 29 teams this regular season. So I was very curious to how the Minnesota Timberwolves were going to defend it, considering they're one of the worst pick and roll defenses in the league. And if you ask me, for the most part, they did a pretty okay job defending the pick and roll. One thing they didn't do was basically they gave up a lot of open three-point shots. And against the Houston Rockets, that's like the worst thing to do. But luckily for the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Houston Rockets just didn't make their threes. Eric Gordon didn't make his. Only guy that was really making his threes was MVP James Harden, basically. You know, everybody else was basically just cold. James Harden put on his backpack and said, okay, this is our game one. So defensively, the Timberwolves weren't bad, but they're going to have to contest those open threes way more in the rest of the series if they want to actually compete. On the offensive side of the ball, that was my main question. What was their goal going to be? Because in the previous video, my playoff prediction video, I said this could go 5 or maybe even 6, but for that to happen, I need to see one thing and one thing only. Karl-Anthony Towns needs to take more shots. In the last game of the season where they played against the Denver Nuggets for the playoff spot, basically, Karl-Anthony Towns did not take a shot in the last 6 minutes of the fourth quarter or at all in the overtime. The X factor for them to take a game or two to actually make this a series is Karl-Anthony Towns. And in this game, Karl-Anthony Towns only took 9 shots. Only 9 shots. We're talking about a top 5 center in the league only getting 9 shots. One of the best offensive centers in the league only getting 9 shots. And the worst part about that is because there was periods of time where they would do a pick and roll. The Houston Rockets are known for switching everything. If you're going to pick and roll the Houston Rockets, they're going to switch everything. Karl-Anthony Towns has set a pick for Jeff Teague, switch, and now you got Chris Paul guarding Karl-Anthony Towns. And instead of Karl-Anthony Towns pound and give me the ball in the paint, he would drift over to the corner. And I guess Thibodeau's game plan coming into this is get that switch, but instead of giving it to Karl-Anthony Towns, let the guard do work. So you had Jeff Teague going against Clint Capella. You had Derrick Rose going against Clint Capella in the night, and Derrick Rose had a pretty good game in that. But at the end of the day, I think when you have that switch of having James Harden on Karl-Anthony Towns or Chris Paul on Karl-Anthony Towns or Eric Gordon on Karl-Anthony Towns, you give it to the dominant big. But for some reason, they didn't do that. And for the most part, when they did get the switch, Jeff Teague wasn't really producing. Now, Jeff Teague did have a period of time where he was going at PJ Tucker. He was going at PJ Tucker's head, but that wasn't off of a switch. That was more of a one-on-one isolation situation. So on the switch against Clint Capella was playing some stellar defense. I think the point guard and your center, you got to demand the ball in that situation. You got to. 9 shots for an all-star caliber center is just not going to cut it. And then because of that, they were in a situation where honestly, this should have been their game. If you ask me, they played better as a team more than the Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets had one guy out there drop 40. The rest of the team just didn't really do much. They figured out a way. At halftime, Clint Capella had 20. and then he finished with 24. So they figured out a way to defend Clint Capella. And at this point, you expect their offense to hit the next gear and score the ball a little bit more, and they just couldn't. They just couldn't. And I hope that when they watch film tonight and in time for the next game, that they see that Houston is doing this switch and Karl-Anthony Towns is more involved in the offense. He took 2 threes, and both of them were pretty open, but he needs the ball down low. He needs it. He's one of the better back-to-the-basket bigs in the league. Yes, he got a stretch game too, but back to the basket, if he's getting guarded by a little over 6-foot Chris Paul, that's a bucket. So let's talk about the last possession of the game. The Minnesota Timberwolves did an amazing job. Off the inbound, instead of fouling immediately and stopping the clock like most teams will usually do, they bring the double team to Chris Paul. Chris Paul overthrows Eric Gordon, and boom, you got a turnover. Now, unfortunately for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they had no timeouts, so they couldn't A, drop a play, or B, advance the ball. So in this situation, everybody in the world knew who was taking the shot. It was Jimmy Butler. It was Jimmy Butler. He has been taking every clutch shot from them pretty much this entire season. And I think there was a crazy stat that I saw on Twitter that was like, he's 1 in 15 when it comes to like game tying or game winning shots in Minnesota. So that, I mean, like for the Minnesota Timberwolves, so that's not very good. But we knew who the ball was going to. And the Houston Rockets played him so well off that he didn't even take a 3. They're down by 3. They need a 3 to tie the game and send it to overtime. He takes a turnaround 2 with his foot on the line. Whether it goes in a lot, game is over. Game is over. Now, I think personally that the ball should have been in Jamal Crawford's hands. No disrespect to Jimmy Butler, but Jamal Crawford is one of the best we have ever seen in creating a 3-point shot. Ever. And even in this game alone, he was 3 for 7 for 3, and a couple of those threes were him creating 3-point opportunities. I think the ball should have went to him, if you ask me. I think the ball should have went to him. I know hindsight is 20/20, but I think Jamal Crawford was the better option for what the situation was. Now, for me, a very important question is, how does each of the coaches react to what happened in game 1? Does Coach Thibodeau look at the film and he notices these switches and tells his team to get Karl-Anthony Towns the ball in the post more? Or does he continue to give the ball to the guard, Jeff Teague, Derrick Rose, on the switch of the big man? I think that's a very, very important decision that he has to make. And on the opposite side, Mike D'Antoni, what is his go-to plan in this entire playoff run if his team is not shooting the ball well? Is it still like, James, please save us? Because that's kind of what happened last night. Or does he work in a way to have other guys get involved that doesn't involve them shooting from behind the arc? It's going to be a very important decision that Mike D'Antoni has to decide now, because you can't count on the Houston Rockets to shoot amazing every night. This is going to happen. If they make it to the Western Conference Finals, they're going to have a game or maybe even 2 where they don't shoot amazing. If they make it to the finals, similar situation. So they have to try to find an answer for that now when they're going against a team that's not as amazing as the team they may go against in the second round, or the conference finals, or even the finals, depending on how far they go. So coaching really does matter in this situation. At the end of the day, I still stick by my prediction of it being a sweep. When in that video, I didn't predict that they were going to win by 20 every game. I just thought that at the end of the day, the end of the game, when that loud buzzer is done, the Houston Rockets will have more points than the Minnesota Timberwolves, because this was their game. If there was any game in the series that they were going to win, it was this game. You had the Houston Rockets shooting terribly. That's not going to really happen too much often, especially when in this game you gave them so many open opportunities. 10 for 37 is below average for them, way below average from them. So even at their average, they're going to destroy you. And if they ended up having a great game, it's not much more you can do. It's still a series that I'm going to be watching every single minute of, because I love Jimmy Butler. I obviously love Derrick Rose. I love Taj Gibson. And then I love watching James Harden, you know? So it's a series that I have nothing invested in. I don't care who wins, but it's still a series that I want to see good basketball. And that's exactly what we saw in game 1. So thank y'all so much for watching this video. Let me know what you think about this whole idea of me breaking down games. Now, I know it's a little bit different. There are other people in YouTube that break down games, and they can actually bring you footage from that game. Unfortunately for me, I'm not partnered with the NBA, so I can't bring you footage. If I put on some footage of situations where Karl-Anthony Towns is being guarded by anybody other than the big man, like the example I gave was like Eric Gordon was guarding him, I can't give you video footage of it, because if I do, the NBA will copyright my video, which is at the end of the day, I may lose my channel. So these are a little bit different, because it is sit down and talk for me and you, and some other guys can actually bring some gameplay. But hopefully my analysis was decent enough for you to enjoy this video. So let me know by leaving a like and leaving a comment. Let me know if you want to see more like this, because we got some game. We basically gonna have games every day for the rest of for a long time. So thank y'all so much for watching. I'll be back. Peace.
Avenue Boulevard, interstate, kill 'em all. Anytime the damn car park. Yellow bitch look like art. Yellow on the rim, that's bark.